Good afternoon to one and all. Assalamu alaikum. Hope all of you are quite ready to work. And welcome to the Business Regent School, the revision program on the grade 12 accounting. Now, last week we discussed the statement of comprehensive income and part of the retained income together with equities and liability sections of the balance sheet. I'm going to try to finish this off very quickly just now, but you have questions, just post them and I'll try and answer them. Now, you all do know that at the end of this year, when you write your final accounting paper, nobody must take a charge. You prepare properly for a statement of comprehensive income. You do a full balance sheet. You know, learners tend to say, okay, you know what, maybe an income statement will come out, or maybe a balance sheet will come out, statement of financial position, and I'm just going to learn this, that, and the other. I am telling you, you need to be confident, you need to know exactly what you are doing, and you must prepare properly. You know what, you can do very well in accounting. There is. Okay. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Am I on? Okay, so what I'm saying is that you need to understand that you don't take a chance. This is the final examination. You need to prepare properly. So don't guess and don't say that only income statement will come out, or it came out last year, so balance sheet will come out this year. We need to prepare for anything and everything. We don't leave anything to chance. So you make sure that you go through your income statement of comprehensive income properly, go through your balance sheet properly, make sure you know it. And then the other bit, the ratios, your financial indicators. Some learners are saying that, oh, they give us a ratio sheet. They tell you they give you a ratio sheet, so I don't need to learn my ratio. I'm telling you, they only give you the sheet with the ratio, that is with the formulas, but they don't put the heading. So if you still don't know your ratio, you still won't know which one to use. So you need to make sure that you are clear about your ratios. Be confident when you enter the exam room. So I suggest learn your ratio and don't leave it for the night before. Start preparing now. I mean, if you look at this question that I've got up, the information D, they gave you financial indicators and they gave you some ratios over there. Now, if you don't know your ratios, you cannot finish the balance sheet, and that's a favorite. Recently, they're putting in a ratio and you must be able to arrive at the missing answer. All right, now taking off from last week, we did a statement of comprehensive income. And we arrived at the net profit, and they told us after taking into account the adjustment, the net profit after tax amounted to 689,310. The current income tax rate is 31%. Now, I always tell my learners, and I'm telling you as well, you need to make sure you understand this properly. You must always remember, you've got your net profit before tax, you've got net profit before tax, then you got your income tax, then you got your net profit after tax. So if you look at it, if I draw an extra column there, always remember that the net profit before tax is your 100%. Your income tax in this example was 31%. So the net profit after tax is 100 minus my 31 is 69%. Now substitute. Now start filling in the figures. They told us that the net profit after tax, the net profit after tax was 689,310. Net profit after tax 689,310. That's my net profit after tax. Now I'm looking for the income tax figure, or I'm looking for the net profit before tax. I need to solve for it. You normally solve for X, but whichever way you understand it. So let's work out the income tax. I need my income tax figure. I would say it is 689,310, which is the net profit after tax over 1 times. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my 31%, which is my income tax. Whatever you want, whatever you're looking for, it will be on the top. So I'm looking for the 31% divided by what you already know. I already know 689,310 is the net profit after tax. What I'm looking for divided by what I already know. I already know the 69%. Now, if you work this out, I need some of you to work on answers for me. So that will give me my income tax figure. The income tax figure for the year, if you work it out, we get, what do we get? 309,690. Thank you, Clarissa. 309,690. 309,690. Now that was my income tax figure. I take that, I go to my statement of comprehensive income, and I'll slot it in over there. Income tax 309,690. Now, you know that SARS expects you to pay first provisional tax. They expect you to pay second provisional tax. So I said that my income tax, I calculated it to be 309,690. I've got the workings on the board. Now, compare that to the first and second provisional tax that you paid. I already paid, according to the question, in your trial balance. If you look at the trial balance, you've got the income tax that is you paid to SARS. You paid 295,500. In the trial balance, you've got SARS income tax. That is the first and second provisional tax that you have paid. 295,500. But you were supposed to have paid 309,690 based on your profit. So you have not paid the full amount, you still owe SARS the difference. So 309,690 minus how much you paid, 295,500. So how much do you still owe SARS? The difference. Work that out very quickly, all of you. You should work out the difference. And you get, okay, very good, 14,190. You owe SARS 14,190. Very good. Thank you, those of you that got 14,190. Now, this money, I still owe SARS. So, I will go to my extract of my statement of equities and liabilities, go under current liabilities. That's part of your balance sheet, your statement of financial position, and go right down under current liabilities. You've got your creditors, and below it, you're going to have SARS income tax, 14,190. I owe SARS 14,190. You record that there. Now, if your provisional tax that you paid SARS was higher than the income tax that you worked out for the year, then the difference, you will put it under trade and other receivables under current asset, because SARS will be owing you money. But in our example here, we are owing SARS, so we put it under trade and other payables, 14,190. But just remember what I'm telling you. if your provisional tax that you have paid SARS is greater than the income tax in your income statement, in your record, what I'm saying is that if the provisional tax, that is, you pay SARS first provisional tax after 6 months, you pay SARS second provisional tax after the second 6 months. So you have paid them a certain amount. Compare that with the figure that appears in your income statement. If you have given SARS extra, overpaid them, that means SARS owes us money. Trade and other receivables under current assets, you'll put the difference. But for this example, trade and other payables, 14,190. So I've recorded that over there. And just by way of a note, I just want to ask you a question. If you can put the answer up, I'll appreciate it. If anyone of you can quickly answer. This question came out once in the past exam. You know, your year, let's assume my year starts on the 1st of March. If your year starts on the 1st of March, and on the 15th of March, you paid SARS 5,000 rands. You paid SARS 5,000 rands on the 15th of March. The question in the exam came out, they asked for 2 marks. This payment of 5,000 rands that was made to SARS, what was it for? Why did you pay SARS this 5,000 rands? Can somebody just type out an answer for me very quickly? They wanted to know, you paid SARS on the 15th of March, when your year started on the 1st of March, 5,000 rands. What was the reason for the payment? Okay, very good. I see those that put up the answers all got it absolutely correct. It was the money that you were owing SARS for the previous financial year. The money that you were owing SARS for last year, you short paid them, you are paying it this year. Lots of learners had written in the final exam at the marking center, when I was marking, I found many learners, what they wrote, they said first provisional tax. They say first provisional tax. First provisional tax is paid after 6 months, not when the year has just started. So think logically, think clearly. Very good. Those of you that got to settle last year's payment, that is the answer there. So in other words, just remember, certain questions that can come out, you must be able to think logically. Just to answer the question, somebody asked the question where we got 200 and that was for what you are asking me, 295. That's in the trial balance. Go and look in your trial balance and the information A to answer the question that came up. Where did you get 295, 500? That is given. In your pre-adjustment trial balance and the information A, halfway down, you got Sars Income Tax, 295,500. That was the balance. That was the first and second provisional tax that you had paid already to SARS. So that's how we got that figure. Please make sure, listen, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. These things are all in the exam paper. I don't know what's in the exam paper, but I'm telling you, if you just think logically, all this will be there. So just make sure you sit down, think about it. After I'm done with you, then you sit and you think and see how things were done. I am telling you, you'll be smiling all the way if you just simply figure these things out. Okay, now let's move on with share capital and reserve. I mean, think about it. Who can tell me that the retained income note or ordinary share capital note won't come out this year? You know for sure it's going to be in the exam. You'll be silly if you don't work it out properly, understand it, and when you go to the exam room, you're going to see it there. You'll be smiling. Make sure you understand how to set it out and don't get caught with it. Okay, now let's just look at the retained income note. We already got there The balance, okay, what was our balance on the 1st of March 2020? Or let me read the note over the share capital and dividend. Let's do that. The share register reflected 745,000 shares in issue on the 28th of February 2021. My year in this activity ends on the 28th of February 2021. They are telling you that the register reflects 745,000 shares in issue. That means that's how many shares you got in issue at the end of the year. The changes to share capital and retail income were recorded. So they're telling you everything was done. Now, on the 1st of October, 120,000 shares were issued at 8 rand each. On the 1st of December, 75,000 shares were repurchased at 140 above the average share price. These shares do not qualify for final dividend. And then they told you interim dividends were paid on the 31st of August. And they gave us a final dividend that was declared. Okay, now, in order for me to do my retained income note, they've got balance on the 1st of March 2020, but they're not telling me that the 2040 is the balance at the beginning. They told me the net profit after tax, they entered it for us. On the next line, you're going to write over there in the retained income note. Go to your retained income note. In your retained income note, you're going to write over there, I repurchased 75,000. So you're going to say 75,000 shares were repurchased at 140 above the average price. So in the retail income note, you always write that portion that you paid above average. So it's going to be 75,000 ordinary shares repurchased at 140 above average. So go and multiply 75,000 at 140, you end up with 105,000. 105,000 in the retained income note. Go to your retained income note. You should have, you got net profit after tax. When you got a blank line, you should write over there 75,000 shares repurchased at 140. That's the above average figure. And you're going to have the amount of 105,000. Thank you very much for that. 105,000. Make sure the 105,000 is in brackets. You leave out the bracket, they will mark it wrong, incorrect. You are buying back. Money is coming out of your retained income note. So I've got that. Now I need to work out my dividends. The interim dividend, they gave it to you, they filled it in, and they gave you the amount of 126,000. Now fill in the final dividend. On the next line, you're going to write down final dividend. Now, how many shares do I have in issue at the end of the year? They told you the share register reflected 745,000 shares in issue on the 28th of February. That's under information C. That's under information C. So, go to your retained income note. You got final dividend, open bracket. Please, I know some of you are very sharp. You can calculate very accurately, but don't be foolish in the exam. You know, under pressure, you can make mistakes. So what I suggest, you show your workings because they will give you marks for it. I am telling you, you will score your marks. If you made a mistake, you still pick up your method mark. But if you don't show the workings, if you don't show the workings, then what's going to happen is you're going to find you lose all the marks. Where do you enter the 105,000? I told you, go to your note number 2.2, you got retained income. You've got balance on the 1st of March, we don't have a figure. No problem. Next line, you got net profit after tax. They filled in the figure for you. The line after that, you're going to write down the 75,000 shares that were repurchased at 140. That's the above average. and the 105,000 will go below the 689,310. That's where you're going to write it, and that figure must be in bracket. Okay, I'll answer that how to get the average share price. We'll work that out in a minute. Now, let's go to ordinary share dividends. I got the interim, the final. We worked it out, 745,000 times 23 cents. They told us that the final dividend, final dividend of 23 cents per share was declared, not paid. I still owe it. So we'll write down 745,000 times 23 cents comes to 171,350. 171,350. Now add 171,350 plus your 126,000 and your answer on top of the box in line with ordinary share dividends. In line with ordinary share. We're doing adjustment C. Adjustment C, information C. I'm doing the retained income note. I think, you know what? Maybe you could put this for me. I rather write there's no way. Okay, look, I think we managed to work something out where I can write on the answer sheet, so maybe you'll be able to see. All right, so I've got balance on the 1st of March, no figure, net profit after tax, and then I'm going to have the repurchase. I told you 70. $75. Okay, I'm going to write the 75,000. That's times the amount above average was 140. That was the repurchase. And in brackets, the amount of 105,000. 105,000. That goes there. Okay, now I've got my interim dividends that supplied. Final will come in here. Final, I need to work it out. How many shares did they tell us we had in issue at the end of the year? Was 745,000. That was, show the working, 7 times, they told you the final dividend was 23 cents. So 23 cents. Right, 745,000 times 23 cents, you're going to get 105,000. Work it out, 171,350. Right, 171,350. Add the two. I see, yes, very good. You put the answer up for me. And you've got the answer, what, 297,350 in brackets over here. Ordinary share dividends, in brackets, the total of those two figures, 297,350. 297,350. Now we're just getting used to the smart board over here that we have, where we're trying to write on it anyway. Okay, 297,350. All right. So now, yeah, 171,350. Thank you. Right now, the balance on the 28th of Feb. The balance on the 28th of Feb. What did they tell us was our retained income balance at the end. Now I need to work out the answer, that is the balance on the 1st of March. They told us my balance in the retained income account was 204,040. Now, they said the share register. Let's go back to information C. Let's look at information C. Share capital and dividends. The share register reflected 745,000 shares in issue on the 28th of Feb. The changes to share capital and retained income were recorded. So they are telling you that the changes were already entered. That means this repurchase of 105 was already sorted out. Now, after I subtracted the 105,000, the balance in my retained income was 204,040. So if I look at what was my balance at the beginning, I'm looking at the retained income note. I need to work out the retained income balance on the 1st of March. Please understand that. So they told you that the balance in the retained income, yes, Umar Darabai, it was 204,040. That's what they gave us in my trial balance. 204,040. That's the figure they gave me, but that is not your balance at the beginning of the year. That is the answer that they got after they subtracted, after you subtracted the 105,000. You don't have to subtract it. Tobeka, think again. You're thinking along the right lines, but just think again. The 204,040 is after the 105,000. 204,040 was the figure after you subtracted the 105. So the balance at the beginning of the year would be plus the 105,000. Add the 105,000 to the 204,040. No, that's for the balance at the beginning of the year. 204,040 plus the 105. And you're going to end up, yes, we add it. We're going to add to come back to the beginning of the year. And your answer should be, anyone? Yes, very good. 309,040. Well done. 309,040. 309,040. 309,040 rand. So my balance at the beginning of the year is 309,040. Then I subtracted the 105 because they said when you repurchase the share that was recorded, it was entered. You have to read very carefully the exams. You need to highlight, underline certain keywords. Okay, so now I've got my ordinary share capital note. It's virtually done. My balance at the beginning was 309,040. Add the net profit after tax of 689,310. Then minus the 105,000, minus the ordinary share dividends, which is made up of interim plus final of 279,350, and give me the balance at the end of the year. Give me the balance at the end of the year. Work it out. The balance at the beginning, I've got it already there. Very good. Those of you that quite a number of you giving me the answer. Well done. 596,000. 596,000. That's my balance at the end of the year, 596. Now look at your retained income account again. The catch was the balance at the beginning. You needed to understand when they told you in the question, the share capital register reflected 745,000 shares in issue on the 28th of February. The changes to share capital and retained income were recorded. Okay, the final dividend, that was easy. Yeah, I didn't put up that page for you, the pre-adjustment trial balance, but you should have it. Those of you, it was sent through to you all the question. So the 204,040 was, it's on the trial balance. You needed to take it from there. Okay, right, now let's move on. Take your final balance from your retained income note, the 596,000. Go to the equities and liabilities section of the balance sheet. Shareholders' equity. You got ordinary share capital. On the next line, I got retained income. I'm going to take my figure, my 596,000, that's 596,000, and transfer it here to my equities and liabilities. That's my shareholders' equity. 596,000. Go slot it in over there by retained income. Okay? And the trade and other payables, you've got all the other entries that I told you. Now, I need to start working everything else out. Let's see, what did they tell us? Don't forget, the final dividend we said was 171,350. And the trade and other payables, you should have your share holders for dividends. Shareholders for dividends, that's your final, this is your final dividend. And I'm taking it from my retained income note, 171, that's 171,350. Don't forget that. Many learners in the exam forget to enter two things. No, MP, where the 204,040 was the figure in the retained income after I subtracted the 105,000. After I subtracted the 105. I've got it out there now. You should be able to follow it through. Try and see how we arrived at the figures. So I've got shareholders for dividend. That's the final 171,350. And the second thing that the learners forget to enter is the Sars Income Tax. Sars Income Tax. I worked out my Sars Income Tax to 14,190. $14,190. You should have 14,190. Okay, now the financial indicators calculated on the 28th of Feb. Net asset value per share, 860 cents. Now, you know what? This is the favorite. You better make sure you understand this. What do you understand by net asset value per share? They're telling you what is one share worth. One share in the business was worth 860 cents. How do you get 860 cents? Now you need to understand something. One or two things. The formula, the method for net asset value. The formula is, anybody wants to type it out for me? The formula for net asset value is your shareholders' equity. Shareholders' equity, if I have to write it here, which is made up of ordinary share capital plus retained income. Shareholders' equity divided by the number of shares in issue that's at the end of the year. Times 100 over 1, times 100 over 1, and you'll get your answer in cents, which is, in this example, 860 cents. Now, I don't know my shareholders' equity. I don't know my shareholders, yes, times 100 over 1. Now, how will I get my shareholders' equity? But I do know that the number of shares that I have in issue, I do know that the number of shares that I have in issue at the end of the year, they told us was 745,000. 745,000. So let's work this out. So you've got X at the top, which you don't know, divided by 745,000 came to 860 cents. This obviously was times 100 over 1, so that the answer comes in cents. Now you need to solve for X. You work that out for me, all of you. Let's try it, and let's see if you can tell me what answer you get. Yes, the person who's put something up over here, well done to them. Please, I am telling you, you know what? Expect something like this in an exam. In your final exam, expect it. Be ready for it. The moment you see it, you must be able to smash it. You must know what to do. You shouldn't be hesitating. If the answer yes, 6,407,000, I see. 6 million, I'll come back to the income tax. Somebody wants an explanation. So the answer is 6,407,000. So on the top here, my shareholders' equity, 6,407,000. Now you can work out the ordinary share capital. Calculate the ordinary share capital for me. You take 6,407,000 minus the 596,000 minus the 596,000, and you end up with 5 million. Yes, Jerusha, well done. You got 5,811,000. 5,811,000. 5,811,000. 5,811,000. So if I add those two figures, I will get my answer for shareholders' equity. Okay, now that balance sheet should now be completed because we already did the loan. We had 974,160 here. 974,160. Our current liabilities that you had to simply add up. You already had your trade and other payables. We had a whole lot of figures over there. Last week we did them. It should be 414410. And then we had the shareholders for dividends. We had Sars Income Tax. And then we had the current portion of loan. You all had current portion of loan. And the current portion, we worked it out to be 108,240. So I've got my current liabilities on the top, which came to 708,190 if I added. $708,190. So that was your balance sheet part, that is the shareholders' equity and liability. Okay, I'll try and slow down a little bit, but this was from last week now, just carrying over certain figures from last week. Okay, now my total equity and liabilities, you just simply had to add up your shareholders' equity plus your non-current liability plus your current liability to give you that answer, your total equity and liabilities. Okay, now let's just look at it. We already had from the previous week our non-current liabilities, which we had worked out that loan. They told us the loan account balance was 1,082,400, the loan. Open bracket, they gave us that figure in the adjustment with regard to the loan. It's under balance on the 28th of Feb under information 8 by B. If you look at it just above share capital and reserves, where they got the loan story, balance on the 28th of Feb 2021 was 1,082,400. 1,082,400. Now they told you that 10% of the loan balance will be settled during the next financial year. So in the next financial year, 10% of 1,082,400 will give you an amount of 108,240, less than 12 months. Next financial year, I'm going to pay this amount here. That's current portion of loan. 10% of 1,082,400 gives me minus 108,240. Like take that figure 1,082,400 and minus 108,240 will give you your loan figure. Zondo, when you say longer than 12 months, is this figure here now, the 974,160. That is more than 12 months. The 108,240 is less than 12 months. Okay. That's that. Now, just the total equity and liabilities, you should all have the total of 8,089,350. Right, there's your retained income note. There's your equities and liabilities section of the balance sheet. Yes, 8089320. Well done. 8089350. That's my total. Okay. Now, you should go and learn. You should make sure that you understand the statement of comprehensive income. You should make sure that you understand your balance sheet in full. Okay, you want to go back to income tax. I discussed the income tax. I'll mention it again to you. The other thing I want to tell you, there was absolutely no reason for them to give me the current ratio at the end. They told us the current ratio at the end was 1.8:1. 1.8:1. I didn't need it because I wasn't doing the full balance sheet. If I needed the current asset, anybody, just for calculation purposes, tell me what your current assets total would have been. I don't have the figures here, but you tell me. You work it out, or just tell me how to get my current assets figure. Clarissa, I'll put the figures for you, how you got the amount for trade and other payables. Because we did all those adjustments last week, but not a problem. I'll write it in for you. But tell me, I want to use the 1.8:1. Well done, Dana boy. 1.8 times 1.8 times the 708. No, Dana boy, you got the wrong figure there. It's, yes, well done to those of you that got 708,190. I will take my current liabilities and I multiply it by 1.8, and that will equal to my current assets figure. Now be prepared for something like that. Be prepared for something like that where they give you the whole balance sheet and they give you the current ratio. Then you must know how to work it out. Take the 708,190, that's the 708,190, and multiply it by 1.8, and you get the current assets figure. And then you can finish the rest of the balance sheet. Okay, and the trade and other payables, I'm just going to write those figures, but we had quite a few from last week. You had to take, basically, you know, all the adjustments that we had, and wherever there was accrued expense and deferred income. Accrued expense and deferred income, those of you, if you were on last week, you would have done the trade and other payables note. You know what? I want to move on to the cash flow. I want to do the next part of the paper, that is the cash flow question. That was the last part of that question. Let's move on to the cash flow. I want to finish that because next week I want to do paper 2. So let's finish paper 1, and I want to tell you how to work things out over here. So let's look at question 3, cash flow statement and financial indicators. Cash flow statement and the financial indicators. There's another page to this. Okay, firstly, you need to understand. Let's now move to the cash flow. If you have any other questions, then you can email them through and I'll answer them for you. And so on. Let's move to the cash flow. Tell me, firstly, if they ask you for 2 marks or 3 marks, what is the purpose of the cash flow statement? Why do you drop a cash flow? Or what does the cash flow statement show you? What does it do? What does the cash flow statement indicate to the individual? Basically, you must remember that the cash flow statement shows you exactly how the funds in the business were utilized. how the money that came into the business, how it was spent. Yes, it shows inflow and outflow of cash in the business, but you must try and, yes, very good, how much money flows into the business and how it was spent, how it was utilized. Keywords, the money that came in, what happened to it, how it was spent. Basically, you need to know that. Tell me now, the second thing I want to ask you, what is the difference between the cash flow statement and the cash budget? Because the cash budget also shows you money coming in, all your receipts and all your payments. What does the cash budget, you all did the cash budget, what is the difference between the cash budget and your cash flow statement? Very good, Mohammed said. Yes, shows you your future bank balance. Very good. Those of you who got those answers, that's a cash budget. Yes, okay. So I see most of you have got the right answers there. What we are saying in the cash budget, it's in the future. It shows you your future expected expenses and your future income, and it will show you your bank balance. But the cash flow statement shows you what you already did. So the budget is in the future, the cash flow is behind you, it's in the past. It already happened. It already happened. It already occurred. So cash flow shows you exactly what happened to the funds that came into the business. Okay, now let's get going with this question. They want us, now listen, that's the other thing is, you must know the format of the cash flow statement, but more recently, they have been just asking certain aspects of the cash budget. So you must be able to pull things out. You must remember that the cash flow statement has just three parts. It's got the operating activity, it's got the investing activities, and then it's got the financing activities. Now, you must look at the words and look at what they mean. When they ask you investing activities, you want to know, what did you invest your money in? You could have bought land and buildings, you could have purchased some vehicles or equipment, or you could have sold. Either I purchased or I disposed of tangible assets. That is, if you know your balance sheet, the first part, non-current assets. Non-current assets. Your land and buildings, motor vehicles, equipment, investing activity. Please make sure you know it, because they're going to ask you to do the investing activity. Now, learners get shocked and they don't know now what to write. They start writing about shares and they write all funny things. You've got your tangible assets, and the second thing that goes in the investing activity is your fixed asset deposits, normally financial assets. Your financial assets. So under investing, you have your non-current assets, that's your tangible assets, plus your financial assets. That's all that goes under investing. Financing, how did you finance your business? How did you finance your business? Where did you get the money from? Did you issue more shares? Did you buy back the shares repurchased? Did you take a loan? Did you repay a loan? So under financing, you must sit down, talk to yourself and say, financing, how did I finance my business? Did I sell shares? Did I buy back shares? Did I take a loan? Did I repay a loan? That's all that goes under financing. You know, it is so sad when we're marking the exam papers and we see when they ask for financing and learners put down the strangest things under financing. It means you either never did any activities or you didn't practice at all. Just think about it. Just think about it and you'll be able to work things out. Okay, right now the first one, let's look at this. They gave us information, they gave us a statement of comprehensive income, that's an extract, a little bit of information. They gave me an extract of the balance sheet, and then they gave me note number 1, trade and other receivables. They gave me note number 2, trade and other payables. Then they gave me something about the share capital, dividends, and then the loan. I've got the loan over there. Okay, I hope that is clearer for some of you. All right, let's move on. Right, let's see now. The first question, they said change in payables indicate inflow or outflow of cash. Now, change in payables. Payables, your creditors and the current liabilities. Your payables and the current liabilities, I want to know the changes in payables. Now, you must remember that if payables are creditors, people that we owe money to, if I buy goods from them, I owe them more money. If my payables increases, I took stock from them, but I didn't pay them. So it would be regarded as an inflow of funds because I'm going to take their stock and sell it and I'll get cash. I'll get cash. So if payables increases, if there's an increase in payables, it will be an inflow of funds. If payables, on the other hand, decreases, it means you paid your creditors. That's an outflow. You only need to think logically. That's all I'm asking you to do. Think logically. If you were owing somebody 100 rand and now you owe them 60 rand, it means you paid them 40. Money left your business. Money left your business. Right, now that's the first thing. Now let's look at the question. You want changes in payables. Now if I go to my balance sheet information B, let's go to information B. Under information B, I find I've got trade and other payables. I've got last year 459,600. I got this year 670,100. Many learners will say, oh, there's my payables, and it increased from last year to this year, and let me subtract. I am telling you, I am warning you, don't you ever take the figure from the extract of the balance sheet. You go and look for the note, because there are certain accounts that you will not include when you work out change in payables. Don't you ever take it from the face of the balance sheet. They told you, they gave you a hint. Note 2. Let's go to note 2. Under note 2, information D, I've got trade creditors. Yes, I will take my trade creditors. Then they got Sars Income Tax. Sars is calculated entirely on its own. Please do not include Sars under payables. You can't work it out in the cash flow because it's worked out separately. Okay? Then shareholders for dividends. Do not take shareholders for dividends because shareholders for dividends has its own calculation. You know, in note number, at least for the cash flow in the first part, and the operating activities, you have interest paid, dividends paid, taxation paid. So dividends paid, I don't take shareholders over here under payables. Taxation paid, I don't include it in my calculation for payables. So what am I going to take now? What am I going to take? I told you, don't you take it from the face of the balance sheet. Now go to trade and other payables note, take the trade creditors figure. I will take that. Accrued expense. Yes, I will take accrued expense of 6,200. Under information D, take the accrued expense. But be careful. But be careful also, because under accrued expense, if they put in brackets interest, you do not include interest, because interest is calculated entirely on its own. So in this example, I will take my trade creditors, I will take the accrued expenses. So let's work it out. Let's calculate it. I will say in my workings, changes in payables, I'm going to take my creditors figure of 390,800. I will take 390,800. That's my creditors figure, plus the accrued expense of 6,200, plus 6,200. And thereafter, I'm going to minus my last year's figure, minus 215,600. Okay, so I will take my creditors, I take my accrued expense, minus the last year's figure, and you ended up with, like those of you that put the answer, 181,400. 181,400. 181,400. Now my creditors have increased from last year to this year. It went up. So this will be regarded as an inflow. It's an inflow of funds. It's an inflow of funds. But remember what I told you, don't you ever take it from the face of the balance sheet. Go look for the note and use the note. Okay, let's see the next one. Income tax paid. Now, income tax paid. I want to know how much of cash I gave SARS. How much of cash was paid out to SARS, South African Revenue Services. Now, there's different ways that you can work it. We will have at the marking center, they got alternate methods of arriving at the answer, but at the end, you must all end up with the same answer. Income tax paid. Now, please, don't only look one place. You must look under receivables. You must look under payables. Now, let's just talk about it first. In information C, I got SARS income tax, 29,300. I have 29,300. It means SARS was owing me 29,300 at the end of last year. So I'm going to tell SARS, listen, according to my extract of my income statement, SARS, I owe you, according to the profit that I made, my income tax came to 428,800. I'm looking at information A, 428,800. I must give you 428,800, but you owe me 29,300. So I'll say 428,800 minus the 29,300 because you owe me that. But then come end of the year, Sars Income Tax under information D. On the second line, I've got Sars Income Tax 33,100 under payables. That means I didn't pay SARS all the money that I was owing them. So I paid them short 33,100. So let's go through this. I supposed to pay them according to my income statement. Extract of my income statement. I was supposed to pay them based on my profit 428,800. I was supposed to pay them 428,800. That's how much you're supposed to pay them. 428,800. But then I said, Sars, you owe me 29,300. So I'm going to subtract that from there. So minus 29,300. Take out the 29,300. But then, Sars, you know what? I have a slight problem. I don't have enough cash. I paid you less. I'm leaving a balance of 33,100. I'll pay you soon. So I never give them the 33,100. So minus 33,100. And if I work this out, I'm going to get my answer. And yes, I can see most of you got the right answer. The method you've shown me, you get 300, and if you work that out, you get 366,400. The answer, 366,400. Now, income tax paid. Money left the business. It is an outflow. Outflows are always shown in brackets. You can put your bracket and you write your outflow. That's an outflow of funds. 366,400. You don't have to write it how I wrote it over there. You can start with the minus 29,300, and then you can have the plus 428,800, and then you'll say minus 33,100. I have no problem with whichever way you work it out, as long as you understand what you're doing. If you understand, but I'm trying to make it as simple as possible for you to understand that based on your profit, you had to pay SARS 428,800. But then SARS from last year had a debit balance in your books, meaning they were owing me 29,300. I'm definitely the 428,800, Nishane, we got it from our income statement under information A. Well, look at information A. From the financial statement, yes. From your financial statement. It's given. You'll need to learn to know where to look, and you must be able to pick it up as quickly as possible. Like I pointed out, whichever way you want to calculate it using your common sense and logic, you must come to your answer of 366,400. Think about it. Okay, so I've got income tax paid. Now dividends paid. Now let's look at dividends paid. Now when you work out dividends paid, listen, you know what you're looking for? You're looking for two basic things. You're looking for last year's final dividend, which you paid this year, and you want this year's interim dividend. Two figures. I want last year's final, I want this year's interim. If I get those two figures, I am sorted. I got my answer. Last year's final, which I will pay this year, and this year's interim dividend, which I have paid out. If I get those two figures, I'm done and dusted. I've got my answer. Okay, let's look at what did they give us. Let's look under information D, shareholders for dividends. Under shareholders for dividends, I was owing at the end of last year, 208,000. I had to pay that first to my shareholders, 208,000 under information D, trade and other payables, shareholders for dividends, 208,000 at the end of last year you were owing, which I had to pay first. So if I want to work it out, I can say I had to pay the 208,000. That's the first amount that I had to pay. Now, if I can find the interim, I would have my answer. Now, what did they tell us? Let's see. Dividends and earnings under information F. Go and look at information F. Dividends and earnings. Okay. And information F, dividends and earnings. Interim dividends were paid on the 28th of February to all shares on the share register. Okay, so they didn't give me the amount. Number two, a final dividend of 12 cents per share was declared on the 31st of August. Total dividends for the year amounted to 528,000. Total dividends for the year amounted to 528,000. So they are now telling you total dividends. Total dividends is made up of this year's interim dividend plus this year's final dividend. It's made up of the interim dividend plus the final dividend. Those two make up my total dividends. But I don't know the interim. And they didn't give me the final dividend also. So now I have to have a method of working this out. They told us a final dividend of 12 cents. I'm reading information D. I'm looking at information D. A final dividend of 12 cents per share was declared on the... So now I've got 12 cents per share was declared on 31st of August. I need to know at the end of the year, how many shares did I have in issue? Okay. Now, listen, let's move on. We're looking at that. Some of you are going back to the first question. We'll come back to those issues. If you got to raise those issues later, don't talk about the loan now. We are now into the cash flow, Adil. Let's go on. A final dividend of 12 cents per share was declared on the 31st of August. The total dividends was 528. I need to know how many shares I had in issue at the end of the year. So they said on the 1st of September, 1.6 million shares were in issue. 1st of May, I sold a further 400,000 shares. 31st of August, 100,000 shares were repurchased at 140 above the average share price. They qualify for final dividends. Now, this is another issue. I had at the beginning 1.6 million shares. Then I sold another 400. That gives me 2 million shares. 1.6 plus 400 gives me 2 million shares that are in issue. Now I repurchased 100,000 shares. That left me with 1.9 million shares at the end. Now they're telling you that the shares that you repurchase, they qualify for final dividends. That means that the 2 million shares that you had in issue, all 2 million of them will qualify for the final dividend. 2 million shares, that's how many you had in issue at the end of the year, minus the 100,000 that you repurchased. The 100,000 is in the 2 million. The figure doesn't become 2.1 million. I watch learners how they say 2.1 million. Or I see now learners will say 1.9 million. I started with 1.6. I sold 400,000. I got 2 million shares. From the 2 million, I repurchased 100. But we are telling you that the 100,000, the problem is that the 100,000 are in the 2 million. To work out the final dividend, it will be 2 million times the 12 cents. 2 million times the 12 cents. So if I have to work out 2 million times 12 cents, 0.12. Work that out for me. Calculate 2 million times 12 cents will give you your final dividend. What do you get? 240,000. Well done. That will give me 240,000. Now, what is 240,000? That's the final dividend. So now, let's work this out. At the end of last year, I was owing 208,000, 208,000. That's how much I had to pay first. Then my total dividends for this year, they gave us total. So my total dividend was 528. So let's add plus 528,000. But the 528 is made up of two figures. It's made up of interim. It's made up of interim plus final. If I take out the final from the 528, I'll be left with the interim. So let's minus the 240 that we worked out. Minus 240,000. Now there's a calculation there. The 208,000 plus the 528,000 minus the 240,000. And your answer then, what do you get? Okay, well done. I see. Where are you getting 288? Some of you are getting 288. That's not the answer. Yes, 496,000. It will be 496,000. And what is 496,000? That's the dividends that you paid out. That will be classified as an outflow. That's an outflow. You paid out the money. That is 496,000. Yeah, 496,000. Outflow of funds. Take last year's final plus this year's interim. Take this year's total minus this year's final, leaves you with the interim. Okay? We are sorted with the dividends paid. Now, proceeds from shares issued. I sold shares. They want to know the proceeds from the shares issued. They're giving you 5 marks to work out the proceeds from the shares that you issued. So now, let's look at the proceeds from the shares that you issued. Share capital. I got 1.6 million shares were issued at the beginning of the year. 1.6 million shares were issued at the beginning. I sold 400,000. They didn't tell you how much you sold them for. Then on the 31st of August, that's on the last day of the financial year, I repurchased 140,000 shares at R1.40 above the average price. They qualified for final dividends. I don't have the average price. Now I need to work out the average price, and then I'm going to get my answer. Now this year troubles a number of learners. They are unable to work out the ordinary share capital note. That's what you needed to do here to work out the proceeds from shares issued, you need to work out the ordinary share capital note. Okay, I'll give you a minute or two. Work it out for me. I want to see which one of you or how many of you can answer the proceeds from the shares issued, but I need the note. I need the note. Okay, but let's see you work out if you get the proceeds from shares issued, then that means you got it right. The note is extremely important. You'll be foolish to go into the exam room if you cannot calculate, or draw up the ordinary share capital note. I need you to do that. Quickly, I'll give you a minute, work that out. That's extremely important because let's see how we're going to get this answer for 5 marks. Quickly, just think about it, work it out if we did it. As soon as I get one answer up, then I will go through it with you. Proceeds from the shares issued. I need to know that. Well done, Rizwana. Well done. Okay, Yusuf, you also got it. MashaAllah, well done to you. You just needed to do the ordinary share capital note. Yes, Lishane, well done. I think you 1-0 short there, but yes, that's better. Be careful with your calculations. Well done there, Masiboge. Okay, I see you're getting it. Well done. Let's go through it. Let's go through that. They told us, let's do that note. I want to do that note because I know that, it troubles many of them. I'm just going to write on top of this here because they don't. Can you write? Okay, now they told us, I'm just going to do the ordinary share capital note because I think it's extremely important and you need to know 1 or 2 issues. Right, they told you had 1.6 million shares in issue at the beginning of the year. So I had 1,600,000. That's your ordinary shares at beginning. 1.6 million shares at the beginning. What was my ordinary share capital account balance at the beginning of the year? They told me I had 5 million. If I look at information B, 5,440,000. Okay, so I had 1,600,000. 1,600,000, that's there, or at the beginning. Right, then they said you went and sold 400,000 additional shares. So I issued 400,000 ordinary shares issued, right? But they didn't tell us the price. So I don't know that figure. I don't have that figure. Then they said you repurchased 100,000. 100,000 ordinary shares were repurchased. But they didn't tell me the average price. They only told me that it was at 140 above the average. I don't have this figure also. That figure is a minus. I don't have that answer. I don't have it. Right now, if I look at it at the end of the year, 1.6 plus 400,000 is 2 million. 2 million minus 100,000 will give me 1,900,000. That's how many ordinary shares you have in issue at end. But I do have my ordinary share capital account balance, and my ordinary share capital balance at the end of the year is 6,840,000. Under information B, 6,840,000. But I got two unknowns over there. I have two unknowns over there. Right. So now, in order to work backwards, I need you to remember one simple rule. Just remember something. That if I subtract, see the 100,000 shares that we repurchase, I'm drawing up that ordinary share capital note. If I subtract an average, my resulting answer, the average will never change. Especially if I subtract an average and immediately after that, not in between, not first and second, so if I subtract an average, then the answer immediately after that will be the same average. If you can remember that, you'll be a winner in the exam. So in other words, I take my 6,840,000, I take this figure and divide it by the 1,900,000. I will get the average price. And when I take that 6,840,000 divided by 1,960,000, do you all get 3 rand 60? That's your average here. 3 rand 60. That is your average. So if I subtract an average, the resulting answer, the average would still be the same. So the 100,000 that you repurchase times 3 rand 60, you can slot it in there. So 100,000 times 3 rand 60 will be what? 360,000. Now there's only one figure missing in the ordinary share capital note. There's only one figure missing. So now work backwards, work in reverse. Take 6,840,000 plus the 360 minus the 5,440,000. And that will give you the 400,000 ordinary shares that were issued. You will get the average price. Okay? What do you have? What do you have? Work that out. And you get 360,000. You get 360. That's your missing figure. The 400,000 ordinary shares, you sold them for 300. No, that's not the answer there. That's not the answer there. What do you get? The 400,000 ordinary shares that you issued. Yes, you get 1,760,000. 1,760,000. 1,760,000. And that's the proceeds from the shares that you issued. The answer here, proceeds from the shares issued, 1,760,000. 1,760,000. That's your workings here, what I showed you. That's your workings all over here. Okay? You need to know the ordinary share capital note. You know it's going to come out at the end of the year. Make sure you understand how to write it out. And understand me when I tell you, if I subtract an average, the resulting answer, the average would still be the same. You better practice these things. Practice it, do it 3 or 4 times. When you do it 3 or 4 times, you will see it and you know exactly what you did. And nobody can take it away from you. And then after you're going to make sure that you're going to score full marks for it. You will score full marks. You need to be confident when you go inside the exam room. These are the things that will come out. These are the catches. Understand them. Okay, now 3.1.5, they want to know the funds used to repurchase shares. That means how much of money you use to repurchase the shares. That's a straightforward now. I did that there. The Ordination capital note. I repurchased 100,000 shares. The average price was 360,000. But then they told us that the 100,000 shares were repurchased at 1 rand 40 above the average. If the average was 360 plus 1 rand 40, that means you paid 5 rands for 1 share. 3 rand 60 plus the 1 rand 40 gives me 5 rands. So 100,000 times 5 rands. So in other words, the working that is 100,000 times, and the figure here is you pay 3 rand 60 plus the 1 rand 40. That is 5 rands. This is 5 rands. So 100,000 times 5 rand, your answer is 500,000. This was a repurchase, it's an outflow. This one here, by the way, share proceeds was an inflow. That was an inflow, that's an outflow. Right, increase in loan. Let's look at the loan story. Loan, the BS lenders, the loan was increased on the 1st of September 2020, beginning of the financial year. Interest at 12% per annum was paid up to date and is not capitalized. So they're telling you that the loan was increased. If I go to non-current liabilities loan, they told me 600,000 at the beginning of the year. They didn't tell me how much the loan was at the end of the year. They didn't tell me how much the loan was at the end of the year. So I can't subtract one from the other to get my answer. Now what do I do? Now remember, they want to know how much you increased your loan by. When they don't give you figures like that, then your next stop, go look for the interest on the loan. They're telling you that you took the loan on the 1st of the increase was on the 1st of September 2020. Okay, so the increase in the loan was on the 1st of September 2020. Now, 1st of September was the beginning of the year because my year ended on the 31st of August. The next day is the 1st of September. So I took an increase in the loan on the 1st of September. So now, from the 1st of September till the 31st of August, 12 months, 1 year, the interest came to 99,300. The interest came to 99,300. I am looking at information. A, interest on loan from the beer lenders, 99,360. The interest rate is 12% per annum. Okay, so now if I know my figure times 12%, it equals to 99,360. Again, basically you're solving for X, but no problem. The 99,360 is equal to the 12% for the year. So how much was that figure? Yes, I'm looking for the 100%. Some of you are quite sharp. Very well done, Temba. Well done to you. So, but just check your zeros. I think you're short of a zero there too. You need to work things out. Be careful. Now, no times 1/2, 12. That's for 1 month. Okay, if you worked it out for 1 month, then work it out for 12 months. Multiply the figure by 12. Anyway, let's work it out. The 99,360 is equal to the 12%. I want to know how much was the loan figure. So my workings obviously will be, they are telling me 99,360 is the 12% for 1 year. 99,360 over 1 times. I am looking for the 100%. That figure 99,360 is the 12%. So times 100 divided by 12. What's the figure? What answer would you get? Do you get 828,000? Yes, Umar Darabah, well done. You got 828,000. This is what the new loan is. 828,000, yes, is the new loan. The question is, how much did you increase it by? They asked you increase in loan. How much did it go up by? So how much was the loan at the beginning of the year? The loan at the beginning of the year, if you look at the information B, extract from the balance sheet, your loan was 600,000. So minus 600,000. And the difference is 228,000. That is how much the loan increased by 228,000. And if the loan increased, it will be an inflow. Money came in. I went and borrowed. It is 99,360 was the interest for 1 year. I want to know what the 100% was, times 100 over 12. So that means the loan now is sitting on 800. Yes, we did use the 5 rand, and that's how this is here. If you look at it, I used 5 rand and I got 500,000. Okay, to answer that question from Teresha, we used 5 rand, and that's our answer, 500,000 for 3.1.5. No, not for 3.1.4. That's a proceed from the shares. Proceeds. No, the 5 in 3.1.4. We did that. We ended up with 1,760,000. Let's go back and look at it. Let's go back and look at it, and I'll come back to it. Okay, so the increase in the loan was 228,000. The increase in the loan was 228,000. And I guarantee you, you must get this. If you don't get this in the cash flow, you're going to get it in the cash budget question. I'll come back to that one there. Let's move on. So we've got 228,000 is the inflow with regard to the increase in the loan. Right, then the next question, net change in cash and cash equivalent. I'll come back to those questions. Some of you are going back. 99,360 is the interest on the loan. But the thing is, you know, when you talk about interest, it's capitalized. Okay, let's just talk about the interest. The 99,360, even if the interest is capitalized, What it means is that the interest gets added to the loan. But the bank has made an arrangement with you that you need to pay off every month a certain amount. When you pay that amount, the first thing that they take is the interest, and then they will decrease your loan. So even if interest is capitalized, meaning it gets added to the loan, it will get subtracted again when your payments are made. So always remember the loan account figure in the balance sheet, in a statement of financial position, it doesn't have any interest in it because your payments were made, and your payment is made up of interest plus a certain portion towards the capital portion of the loan. So there will still be no interest in the loan account because the interest would have been changed. It would have been paid. Okay, let's just work out the next one. The net change in cash and cash equivalents. That's a favorite. That is a favorite. So you need to make sure that you must be able to work that out. It comes up. Okay, let's just do the net change in cash and cash equivalents. That's your net change. Right now, you have your cash and cash equivalents at beginning, and then you got your cash and cash equivalents at end. Now listen, and listen very carefully. Many learners, they just see cash and cash equivalent, they know what to do there, and they go and look under information B. Let's look at under information B, the third entry over there. I got cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of the year. I got 10,000. I got end of the year. I got 168,000. Now, the question. Remember something. Whenever they give you cash and cash equivalents, I want bells to ring in that head of yours and tell you, hey, wait a minute, watch out. Look out for bank overdraft. Don't just see cash and say, all right, I got my figure. Don't stop there. You must, yes, Yusuf Mohammed, you must first go look for the bank overdraft. I am telling you, they'll catch you with it. Don't be a fool. I am reminding you here, those of you that are on, remember, when they tell you cash and cash equivalents, you got 10,000 beginning of the year, don't stop there. Go look for bank overdraft. And yes, I do have bank overdraft on the information B, the last one there, bank overdraft 109,800. So I was owing the bank 109,800, but I got cash of 10,000. So let's do this. If I tell the bank, listen, I'm owing you 109,800. Take my 10,000. That means you will still be owing the bank, but 109,800 minus the 10,000, your overdraft will drop. It will decrease to 99,800. So my cash and cash equivalent at the beginning, 99,800. Now that's an overdraft. It's a negative. Make sure you put a bracket around it. Make sure you put a bracket around it. Right, now come to the end of the year. At the end of the year, I got cash of 168,000, but there's no overdraft and it's a favorable balance. So 168,000. That's my end of the year figure, 168,000. Now I need the net change figure. I need the net change figure. Now think logically. Think logically. See, You were owing the bank 99,800 at the beginning. I want to know basically how much money came in or how much you spent. I need to know that. Now, I was owing the bank 99,800. But come end of the year, I'm sitting pretty flush. I've got 168,000 rands. So how much money came in? How much money I collected? I obviously had a lot of money because I paid the bank the 99,800 and then I'm still left with 168. So basically work in reverse, 168,000 plus the 99,800 and you will end up with 267,800. 267,800. Now that's a positive figure. That minus the 99,800 will leave you with 168,000. So 267,800 positive. That's your net change that you've got over there. Please, I'm begging you, I'm appealing to you. Go and practice these things, because these things will come out in the final exam paper. You must be ready for it. Don't donate those marks. They're giving you almost 6 or 4 marks or 5 marks for those calculations. Score those marks and pick them up as quickly as possible. Quickly as possible. Okay, let's move on. I want to get to the ratio question. I want to explain to you a couple of things over there very quickly. Let's see. Right, the next part of it, calculate the asset test ratio. I want you to calculate the no. Just move this one. The formula for the asset test ratio. That's the next page. Writing paper. They want the asset test ratio. Now you better make sure that you go and learn your ratios. You must learn your ratios. Your asset test is your current assets minus the inventory is to current liabilities. Current assets minus the inventory is to current liabilities. Basically, what am I telling you? I'm telling you to take your trade and other receivables and cash equivalents. Writing. So the asset test ratio, let's work that out quickly. It's your trade and other receivables and cash equivalents. Work it out very quickly. Yes, current assets minus inventories is to current liability. No. Page, next page. Next page. Yeah, there. I can write that. So let's work it out. The current ratio. Those of you, if you worked it out quickly, give me an answer. Give me an answer for it. I told you it's your current asset minus your inventory. And your current asset minus the inventory, or I can take trade and other receivables and cash equivalents. Now we're working this out at the end of the year. We're working it out at the end of the year. And your answer for that, what is it? You're taking, let's see the figures. You're taking the 278,000 plus my 168,000. It's my trade and other receive. Your asset test ratio is your current asset minus the inventory. So basically, it leaves you with your receivables and cash equivalents, which is 278. 278,000 plus my cash was 168 is to your current liabilities. Your current liabilities was your, in the face of the balance sheet, we had it, what it was, 670, 100. 670, 100 it was. On the face of the balance sheet, my current liabilities, okay, 670, 100. And if you look at note number D, you got it over there as well as the total, 670, 100. The right-hand side, your right-hand side must always be equal to 1. Must always be equal to 1. So to get the 1 on the right-hand side, it will be 670, 100 divided by itself will give you 1. And mathematically, whatever you do to the right-hand side, you must do the same to the left-hand side. Take a 278,000 plus 168, add them up and divide by 670, 100, and you got 0.7. Well done. 0.7 is to 1. So my answer is 0.7 is to 1. What does the asset test ratio tell you? It tells you your ability to pay off your short-term debt. Your ability to pay your short-term debt, for every 1 rand you're owing, you only have 70 cents. This business has got a problem. They're not going to be able to pay because 0.7 is how much you got. I got 70 cents. I owe 1 rand. I can't settle unless I'm going to dispose of my stock, because this is worked out without the stock. I want to know, can I pay my creditors? Can I pay my creditors if I don't touch my stock? I can't. They have a liquidity problem. This is a liquidity problem. Remember the current ratio, the asset test ratio, stock turnover rate, debtors collection, creditors payment are all liquidity ratios. You know that question is in the exam. It won't take a rocket scientist to figure it out. It's in the exam. They're going to put it there. Comment on the liquidity position of the business. You got to identify 2 or 3 liquidity ratios and comment. Current ratio, asset test ratio, rate of stock turnover, debtors collection, creditors payment, liquidity ratios. Okay, so my answer for the asset test is 0.7 is to 1. Now the next one, they want you to work out the percentage return on average shareholders' equity. Percentage return on average shareholders' equity. It is your net profit after tax. Net profit after tax divided by the average shareholders' equity. That's at the beginning of the year plus end of the year. Add the 2 and divide by 2 times 100 over 1. They want a percentage. To get a percentage, it is times 100 over 1. Now, work that out quickly for me. Your net profit after tax was 911,200. 911,200 divided by, and I want to work out the average. It will be half into your shareholders' equity, which is made up of ordinary share capital plus retained earnings. Beginning of the year plus end of the year. So, your beginning of the year shareholders' equity plus end of the year. Those were 5,650,000 plus 7,293,200. times 100 over 1. There's the figures on the board, and the figures are all on the question paper. Your figures are all on the question paper. The shareholders' equity, it's there in information B. Information B, shareholders' equity. Beginning of the year plus end of the year. Add the 2, divide by 2. And your answer, you got 14.1%. I see quite a number of you got the answer. Now, if they ask you to comment on that, in order to comment on that, you always compare this. You will always remember return on shareholders' equity. I want to know, if I took my money and I put it in the bank, how many percent I would get? Under today's times, banks will only give you plus minus around 7%. You'll only get 7%. Some financial institution might give you 8%, but it's playing around the 7% mark. Was this good or bad? Your answer will be it's very good. If they ask you to comment, your return on shareholders' equity was 14.1%. If I invested my money in a financial institution, if I invested, how did we get 911,200? The net profit after tax. Take the net profit before tax and the information B. Take the information B, at least information A. Your net profit before tax of 1,340,000 minus 428,800 minus the tax will give you 911,200. I hope that answers your question. Okay. Now, that takes care of 14.1%. Yes, it was a very good. Yes, you will compare the return on shareholders' equity with the interest on the investment. Okay, the last one over there, calculate dividend payout rate. Calculate the dividend. This is an exam. I'm telling you, you know what? The dividend payout policy. Dividend payout policy must be in the final exam. Okay, so now calculate the payout rate. Take your DPS, dividends per share, and put it over the EPS. It is DPS, dividends per share over EPS times 100 over 1. Calculate that. All of you should be able to work that out. My dividends per share. Your dividends per share. Now, you must be very careful. Don't just take total dividends at the end of the year, etc. You need to know how to work out your dividends per share. They told you, they didn't give you the interim, they gave you the final dividend. They told you the earnings per share was 53 cents. That was well done there by Kamil. Most of you might not get the answer for this, but you must work out at the beginning of the year when you declared and paid out the interim dividend, how many shares you had. So take that plus the final of 12 and you're going to get, we worked out our interim dividend earlier in the retained income note. Take it and divide it by the number of shares. So you should have actually, the method here should have been 30 cents over the earnings per share. They told us 53 cents times 100 over 1. And you'll get your answer. And most of you that are putting it up, well done. You're getting 57.1%. 57.1%. Now, how I got 30 cents? They told us the final dividend was 12 cents and the interim was 18 cents. You had to work it out. You had to take the interim dividend that we had and divide it by the number of shares that we had in issue when the interim dividend was paid out. And you end up with 30 over 53 times 100, you got 57 point. Do you get 57.1? Yeah. Okay. So okay, so we'll accept that answers that you're getting, the 56.6 or the 57.1. There's it, 30 over 53 times 100 over 1. That's the calculation for it. Okay, I didn't get to come to the ratios, that is the interpretation. I will spend a few minutes, just a few minutes. You all got the paper. The paper was emailed to all of you. I suggest you all look at that, work that out. I'll comment on it very quickly, and then I will post for you paper 2. Now, you know, some of you have been asking some questions about certain figures and so on. I'll tell you what, I will give you my cell number. You can WhatsApp me your questions and queries, and I will answer it for you. I'm going to write my cell number on the board. So if you have a query or a question or anything that you want to know, then you can message me, WhatsApp me, put it there. If I don't answer your question immediately, I will be either driving or busy, I've got classes and so on. But I will answer your question. If it means even late in the evening, I'll answer it for you. I'll show you exactly how to get it. So those of you who want, I'm going to put my phone, my cell number on the board, and you can message me. It's 084-782-5415. Message me and I will guide you through whatever question, even if you got some other questions, some other papers that you're working with, you're not sure, but then you must send me a picture of the question and then tell me your query and I will assist you. I'll take you through it. Okay, what we will do is for next week, I want to go through paper 2, but I still need to go through the ratios. The telephone number is 084-782-5415. Okay, so I've written it up there. I'm sure you can see it also. Okay, all the best to all of you, and we will chat next week. We'll chat next week. Thank you so much for attending.